The scene is set aboard the colossal superstar destroyer Executor, a ship that epitomizes the might of the galactic empire. It's a moment that teeters on the edge of destiny, as Darth Vader and his secret apprentice, Starkiller, stand side by side. Darth Sidious, Emperor of the Galaxy and Dark Lord of the Sith, stands before them, his malevolence palpable, his shadow long and oppressive. He had ruled with an iron fist, his cunning unmatched, his power in the Force unparalleled. But even the most dominant figures can be challenged, and today, his rule would face an upheaval unimaginable even to his dark foresight. Sidious's cackle echoes through the cavernous chamber. He goads them, taunting the apprentice for his blind allegiance to Vader and accusing Vader of weakness, claiming the apprentice would be his undoing. Starkiller, a prodigy steeped in rage and hatred, tightens his grip on his lightsabers. Vader's mechanical breathing remains steady, but beneath the mask, a storm brews. The apprentice's loyalty to Vader is tenuous at best. His own ambitions and grudges fuel his inner conflict, but in this moment, their hatred for Sidious unites them. Sidious's lightning lashes out in a brilliant arc, but Starkiller raises his sabers, absorbing and redirecting the surge. The room trembles under the sheer magnitude of the Force being unleashed. Sidious's fury is met with Vader's brutal efficiency and Starkiller's raw, unbridled power. The Emperor shifts his attention to Starkiller, recognizing him as the more immediate threat. But this is the distraction Vader needs. The Dark Lord steps forward, his crimson blade slashing with surgical precision. Sidious counters, spinning and retaliating with a ferocity that belies his age. Their battle is nothing short of cataclysmic. The power of the Force is unleashed in waves, shattering consoles, tearing apart durasteel walls, and destabilizing the ship's systems. Alarms blare as systems overload under the strain of the titanic clash. The Executor, a vessel designed to withstand planetary assaults, begins to groan under the sheer energy being discharged in the duel. Vader presses forward, his strikes deliberate and relentless, while Starkiller's agility and creativity force Sidious into a defensive stance, a position he seldom finds himself in. But Sidious is no ordinary foe. As the trio battles, his mastery of the dark side becomes evident. He taps into the deepest currents of the Force, pushing both Vader and Starkiller to their limits. Starkiller finds himself thrown across the room with a casual flick of Sidious's wrist, slamming into the far wall with bone-crushing force. Vader, too, is momentarily overwhelmed by a surge of lightning, his cybernetic limbs seizing and sparking. Sidious steps forward, his voice a venomous whisper, promising Starkiller power beyond imagination if he turns on his master. For a fleeting moment, Starkiller hesitates. The temptation is real. His hatred for Vader runs deep, born from years of manipulation and betrayal. But the hatred that burns within him is a double-edged sword. It's as much directed at Sidious as it is at Vader. The apprentice rises, shaking off the pain, and makes his choice. He charges Sidious with a scream of defiance, his sabers igniting in a flash of blue and red. Vader joins him, and together, master and apprentice press their assault. Sidious, for all his power, begins to falter. His age, arrogance, and overconfidence betray him. He attempts to summon the Force to crush Starkiller's windpipe, but Vader intervenes, his blade severing Sidious's concentration and forcing him to retreat. The battle shifts again, with the Emperor now on the defensive, his attacks becoming more erratic and desperate. Vader and Starkiller exploit every opening, their combined strength overwhelming the Sith Lord who had once seemed invincible. In a final, desperate move, Sidious unleashes a torrent of Force lightning that engulfs the room, the sheer intensity threatening to destroy all three combatants. Starkiller channels the lightning through his sabers, redirecting some of it, while Vader marches forward, his suit sparking, his mechanical limbs groaning under the strain. With one final strike, Vader drives his blade through Sidious's chest. The Emperor's scream is unearthly, reverberating through the Force itself, a cry of anguish that signals the end of his reign. As Sidious collapses, the ship trembles violently. The damage to the Executor is extensive. Systems fail one by one as the duel's aftermath wreaks havoc on the vessel. Vader and Starkiller stand over the crumpled form of the Emperor, their breathing heavy, their triumph palpable. But victory is bittersweet. Sidious's death has created a vacuum in the dark side, a power vacuum that threatens to tear them apart. Vader turns to Starkiller, his voice cold and mechanical. The Emperor is dead. The galaxy is ours. But Starkiller's expression hardens. He has no intention of serving Vader any longer. The apprentice's loyalty, tenuous even before this battle, shatters completely. Starkiller raises his sabers, his intent clear. "You used me," Starkiller growls, his voice filled with venom. "You made me a pawn in your schemes. I won't be your puppet any longer." Vader's response is immediate. "You were my creation, Starkiller. You will obey." Their clash is swift and brutal. Starkiller's rage fuels his attacks, his strikes ferocious and unrelenting. Vader, though weakened from the battle with Sidious, defends with the precision of a seasoned warrior. The two are evenly matched, their combat tearing through the remains of the chamber. But Starkiller's youthful vigor and raw power give him an edge. With a final, devastating strike, he disarms Vader, sending the Sith Lord's lightsaber clattering to the ground. Vader, now at Starkiller's mercy, gazes up at his former apprentice. For a moment, there is silence, the weight of their history hanging heavy in the air. Starkiller hesitates, his anger warring with a flicker of something else. Pity, perhaps, or a lingering sense of loyalty. Vader, sensing the hesitation, speaks. "You are strong, Starkiller, stronger than I ever imagined. But strength without purpose is meaningless. Together we can rule the galaxy." Starkiller's expression hardens. He raises his saber, ready to deliver the final blow. But before he can strike, the Executor lurches violently, the ship's systems reaching critical failure. The chamber begins to collapse, debris raining down as explosions ripple through the vessel. Starkiller steps back, his decision momentarily postponed by the chaos around them. He turns and runs, leaving Vader behind as the ship's structure begins to give way. The once mighty Executor is now a dying behemoth, its fate mirroring the Empire's fractured state. Starkiller escapes aboard a stolen shuttle, his future uncertain, his destiny his own for the first time. Back on the collapsing Executor, Vader pulls himself to his feet. Though wounded and alone, his resolve remains unbroken. He watches Starkiller's shuttle disappear into the void, his thoughts hidden behind the mask. The Empire, the Sith, and the galaxy itself are forever changed. But Vader's story is far from over. He has survived too much to let this be his end. Starkiller, now a rogue element in the galaxy, carries with him the knowledge and power of the Sith, as well as the burden of his own choices. Sidious's death has shattered the Empire's hierarchy, and the galaxy plunges into chaos. The Rebel Alliance seizes the opportunity to strike, their momentum bolstered by the Emperor's fall. On Coruscant, whispers of rebellion grow louder, and the once unstoppable machine of the Empire begins to fracture. As the flames of the battle aboard the Executor die down, the galaxy begins to feel the shockwave of Sidious's death. But Darth Vader is not one to allow chaos to persist for long. Despite his injuries and the betrayal of his former apprentice, he survives the destruction of the Executor. Escaping in a shuttle, Vader directs the pilot to set a course for Coruscant. His mind churns with purpose. The Empire may have lost its Emperor, but the Sith have always been about survival through strength. And Vader intends to prove himself the rightful successor, ensuring the galaxy remains under the iron grip of the dark side. The trip to Coruscant is marked by silence, save for the rhythmic rasp of Vader's respirator. The Dark Lord uses the time to plan his next moves. Sidious's death leaves a vacuum of power that would have tempted countless Imperial officers and governors to stake their claims. However, Vader knows the Emperor's death is not widely known yet. He would use this small window to consolidate power, to ensure the Empire does not fracture. For that, he would need Coruscant, the very heart of the Empire, to become his throne. Arriving in the orbit of the glittering capital, Vader's shuttle bypasses standard protocols, its access codes granting him clearance without question. When he emerges on the surface, the sight of the towering Imperial Palace fills him with a grim resolve. He does not waste time explaining Sidious's absence. Instead, his mere presence, and the aura of menace he radiates, commands immediate compliance. High-ranking officers, bureaucrats, and advisors are summoned to an emergency council. Vader's holographic projection appears simultaneously across the galaxy to fleets and planets under Imperial control. His words are deliberate, his voice heavy with authority. The Emperor has been slain by traitors within the ranks. I, Lord Vader, assume command of the Empire to ensure its survival and dominance. All who oppose this transition will be crushed. The reaction is one of shock, but few dare question him. Sidious had ruled through fear and absolute authority, and Vader, a figure synonymous with terror and death, steps into this role with natural ease. The Imperial war machine is vast, but its loyalty lies with power, and Vader is nothing if not a symbol of unmatched strength. Officers swear fealty to him, governors pledge their systems, and even the fleet commanders acknowledge his command. Within days, the transition of power is complete, and the Empire marches forward under the banner of its new leader. Vader wastes no time in reshaping the Empire to suit his vision. On Coruscant, he establishes the capital as his stronghold, recalling every officer, engineer, and crew member of critical importance to the Imperial military. He hastens the production of a second Executor, declaring that the loss of the first was a setback, not a failure. The new superstar destroyer would embody the Empire's resilience and Vader's dominion. Factories across Coruscant work around the clock, and additional resources are diverted from conquered systems to expedite its completion. But the Empire's reorganization is not limited to shipbuilding. Vader summons the most loyal and ambitious officers to Coruscant, restructuring the military hierarchy to ensure their allegiance. Those who had been closest to Sidious are scrutinized. Some are purged outright. Others are given the opportunity to pledge their loyalty to Vader and prove their worth. In the background, whispers of fear ripple through the ranks. Everyone understands that under Vader's rule, failure will not be tolerated. Remarkably, the transition proves smoother than even Vader had anticipated. Perhaps it is his reputation as an enforcer, or perhaps the fear of civil war among the Imperial elite drives cooperation. Whatever the reason, the Empire moves forward with newfound purpose. The shadow of Darth Sidious looms less heavily than expected. Officers begin to praise Vader's decisive leadership, and citizens of Coruscant continue their lives, many unaware of the shift in power. But while Vader consolidates his grip, his thoughts remain on the one loose thread that could unravel his plans. Starkiller, the former apprentice, now an independent and volatile element, poses a dangerous threat. Not only does Starkiller possess intimate knowledge of the Sith, but his sheer power in the Force makes him a potential rival. For Vader, it is unacceptable. Every master must have an apprentice, and Starkiller's rebellion is a direct challenge to that balance. Thus begins the hunt. Vader deploys an array of forces to track Starkiller, from fleets of star destroyers to squads of elite hunters and inquisitors. Interrogations are conducted across the galaxy, and bounty hunters are offered fortunes for even the faintest trace of Starkiller's whereabouts. But the former apprentice proves elusive. His skill in the Force and his ability to survive make him a formidable fugitive. As weeks turn to months, Vader's determination does not waver. In his moments of meditation, he reflects on the significance of Starkiller. The apprentice was more than a weapon. He was a creation, a testament to Vader's ability to shape raw potential into power. But he was also a reminder of Vader's own hubris, a miscalculation that nearly cost him everything. The Sith Code demands strength, and in Starkiller's rebellion, Vader sees not only a threat but an opportunity. If Starkiller can be brought back under his control or defeated, it will solidify Vader's place as the ultimate Sith Lord. On Coruscant, the city buzzes with activity as the search intensifies. Reports flood in from across the galaxy. Starkiller was sighted on a remote world. Starkiller was seen attacking an Imperial convoy, Starkiller was recruiting rebels. Each report is investigated, and each leads to a dead end. But Vader is patient. The dark side is his ally, and through the Force, he begins to unravel the threads that will lead him to his quarry. Starkiller's anger, his hatred, they burn brightly in the Force, leaving a trail that Vader can follow. And in the quiet moments, Vader contemplates the future. He sees the galaxy reshaped in his image, the Empire unified under his rule. But he also sees the inevitability of the Sith. The Master must always be challenged by the apprentice. Starkiller's defiance has reignited a part of Vader long buried under layers of pain and servitude. The prospect of facing his former apprentice, of proving his superiority, fills him with grim anticipation. The hunt for Starkiller is not just about eliminating a threat. It is about fulfilling the Sith's eternal cycle of power and succession. In the cold, mechanical depths of the Imperial Palace, Vader prepares himself for the confrontation to come. His power grows with every passing day, his control over the Empire solidifies, and his resolve sharpens. Starkiller is out there, and Vader will find him. Every master needs an apprentice, but more than that, every master must overcome their apprentice to truly rule. For Vader, the hunt is not merely a necessity, it is destiny.